Maedhros was the eldest son of Feanor and the eldest grandson of Fenway. His mother was Nerdanil, daughter of Motin, and his 6 younger brothers were Maglor, Celigorm, Caranther, Curafin, Amrod, and Amras. He was known as the Tall One, and had reddish bronze hair. Maedhros was born in Feanor in the Twin Tree era. In 1490 BC, Maedhros' father, Feanor, was banished from the city of Tirion in Feanor after his half-brother, Fin, had drawn a high sword against him, and Maedhros and his brothers followed his father's banishment. They traveled to the north, built Verminos in the hill country, and lived there. In the year 1495 of the Twin Tree era, Manwë invited the Noldor to a feast at Tanaquetil. However, none of the rest of the Noldor elves who lived in Verminos, except Feanor, went to the feast. That day, Maedhros and the rest of the sons of Feanor were bored and rode away. As they rode northward, however, the sky darkened, for then Morgoth, with Ygoliant, had poisoned the twin sacred trees. They turned back in fear, and saw Verminos covered with a black cloud, and heard a cry of anguish. They broke into a gallop, but the horse threw them to the ground and fled. They flopped helplessly to the ground as the black cloud whizzed past them. They eventually made it back to Verminos. All they saw, however, was Fenway, the High King of Noldor and grandfather of Maedhros, slain at the gates, the fortress ransacked of its jewels, and the elven diamonds, which Feanor had cherished so much, taken from him. So the sons of Feanor immediately rushed to Tanaquetil, and Maedhros told the news to Manwë himself. Feanor was overcome with grief and anger. He took his sons, broke the ban on exile, and returned to Tirion, demanding that the Noldor elves honor him as king and follow him in his pursuit of Morgoth. He also made a terrible vow in the name of Ilúvatar to reclaim the elven diamond. Maedhros and his brothers followed their father in making the exact same oath. On the return of the Noldor elves to the Middle Continent, Maedhros traveled with Feanor to Oquatakidi, where he participated in the first kindred murder. After Feanor left Funkung High Hopes and its deployment to sail to the mid-continent, Maedhros at first did not know his father's plan, thought Feanor would carry the elves who had not yet boarded the ship, and hoped that the first ships would carry back his cousin and dear friend Funkung. Maedhros knew the truth and was dissatisfied with his father, and did not follow Feanor to burn the ships. Maedhros succeeded Feanor as king of Noldor after Feanor's death in the Battle of Stars Below. Maedhros and his brothers did not fully trust Maedhros, but Maedhros was driven by an oath to intercede with Maedhros, and both sides brought more soldiers than they had planned. Both sides brought more soldiers than agreed, and Morgoth dispatched the Inferno. Maedhros' soldiers were all killed, and he himself became Morgoth's prisoner. Maedhros' right wrist was put into a steel hoop, and he was hanged on one side of the cliffs of Sangolothium for about 30 solar years. As the Fin landed high on the Middle Continent and approached the gates of Amban with high hopes, Maedhros heard a noise and called out, but his voice was lost in the echoes of the barren rocks, and he was not rescued. Shortly thereafter, Fingon traveled alone to Amban in search of Maedhros. Fingon sang an ancient song composed before the sons of Fenway had begun to fight each other on the ridges of Sangoraconium, and was answered by Maedhros. Fingon was able to pinpoint his location, and attempted to rescue Maedhros with the help of the Eagle King, Thorondor. However, the steel band holding Maedhros' right hand could not be broken, and Fingon had to cut Maedhros' right wrist to free him. Out of gratitude to Fingon and to make amends for Feanor's abandonment of the Fingongs, Maedhros relinquished the position of Supreme King of Noldor to Fingolfin, Fingon's father, and his uncle. However, not all of his brothers agreed with his decision. Thus, as Mandus had foretold, the House of Feanor lost the Elf Diamond and the High King of Noldor, and became the dispossessed, but the Elves of Noldor were reunited. Maedhros, realizing the potential for conflict between his brother and the rest of the clan, led them out of Heathlum to East Silmarillion. Their territory covered the lands around Mount Shimrin, a zone that came to be known as the Maedhros Defense Line. As a high-flying ally of the Finn, the Maedhros were victorious in the Battle of Glory. But in the Battle of the Plunge Fire, many elven territories fell one after another, and Maedhros held Cimmerin. After hearing of Bern's and Lucien's exploits, Maedhros renewed his hope of reclaiming the precious diamond. He rallied his brother and allied with other clans to create the Maedhros Alliance in an attempt to lay siege to Omband. Singo did not give his alliance support due to his younger brothers, Kael Kung and Cujafin, who were feuding with Bern and Lucien. After the Battle of the Rain of Tears, the 7 sons of Feanor were separated and the alliance fell apart. Cimmerin was overrun by orcs and Maedhros, and his brothers retreated to Osiriand, where they stayed with Lykundi. After the deaths of Bern and Lucien, their son Dio inherited the elven diamond they had taken from Morgoth. With the old oath still in force, the Maedhros attacked Doriath at the instigation of Killican. In this battle Celegorm, Caranther, and Curufin were slain, as was Dio. Dio's 2 sons, Alurid and Elurin, were captured by Celegorm's servants and abandoned in the forest, and Maedhros went in search of them without success. Shortly thereafter, Feanor's sons received word that the elven diamond was in the hands of Dio's surviving daughter, Elwyn. They sent a friendly letter, but Elwyn refused to give the elven diamond to the sons of Feanor. In response, Maedhros and his brothers sent an army to attack the harbor of Cyrene in an attempt to recapture the elven diamond. Many elves died in the battle, and the grief and confusion had built up so much that some of the elves even turned against Elwyn to fight against Feanor's sons. In the end, Maedhros was victorious, capturing Elrond and Elros, 2 of Elwyn's sons, but Maedhros' twin brothers, Amrod and Amras, were both killed. Elwyn leapt off the cliffs into the sea carrying the elvish diamond, and was transformed into a swan by Womu. After the Battle of Wrath, Maedhros convinced his only surviving brother, Maglor, to steal the other 2 diamonds that had been occupied by Morgoth. For their crimes, however, the elven diamonds no longer recognized them, searing their hands with unbearable heat and rendering their oaths hollow in the end. In anger and despair, Maedhros took the elven diamond and jumped into the flames of the Earth Rift. He was the only one of the known elves to commit suicide. Maglor is the second son of Feanor and Nerdanil, and brother of Maedhros. He is married to a woman whose name is unknown. Maglor is one of the greatest singers among the elves, rivaled only by Daeron of Doriath. He has a magnificent voice that can be heard from a great distance and is skilled at playing the harp. He wrote many songs, including the Noldoranti, The Fall of Noldor, which describes the journey of the Noldor elves out of the Amen continent and the hardships they endured in the Middle Continent. Maglor was born in the land of the Blessed in the Age of the 2 Trees. Her father, Feanor, created 3 elven diamonds containing the light of the twin sacred trees. In the year 1495 of the Twin Tree era, Morgoth killed Fenway, the High King of Noldor and Feanor's father, and took the diamonds, fleeing to the Middle Kingdom. In an emotional speech before Noldor, Feanor and his brothers urged them to travel to the Midcontinent to hunt down Morgoth, avenge Fenway, and reclaim the stolen elven diamond, and Maglor and his brothers followed their father's vow to fight to the end against whomever possessed the elven diamond. This oath later led to numerous conflicts and tragedies. Feanor and his followers set out for the Middle Continent, asking Teleri for a ship to cross the sea, and were refused. Feanor decided to take the ship by force, and they had their first kinsman's bloodbath in the harbor of Okarundi, in which Maglor was involved. This incident is recounted in Maglor's song Noldoranti, which he wrote before his disappearance. After capturing the ship, the Noldor elves continued north along the coast of Amen Chau. Halfway there, a black figure rumored to be Mandus told them of a prophecy from the north, also known as the Doom of Noldor. However, Feanor and his sons continued on their journey with many other elves. Since there were not enough ships to carry all of Noldor to Midas at once, Feanor led his sons and followers across the sea to Midas first. Upon landing in the narrow bay of Monagist, Feanor ordered the ships to be burned, and Maglor did not do anything about it. After Feanor's death, Morgoth sent a messenger to Feanor's sons, offering them the return of a precious diamond, and Maedhros pretended to negotiate with Morgoth. However, Morgoth ambushed and captured Maedhros in an attempt to use him as a hostage to force Noldo to retreat, but failed, and then handcuffed Maedhros' right wrist to a steel hoop and hung him from a cliff in Sangolothium. In the meantime, Maglor and his brothers were stationed on the shores of Lake Mislin, and later moved to the southern shore of the lake to avoid Fingolfin and his men, who were coming across the ice fjord. Fingolfin's son, Fingon, rescued Maedhros, and reconciled the sons of Feanor with Fingolfin, to whom Maedhros abdicated his throne as High King of Noldor. Feanor's sons moved to East Bariand around the 7th year of the First Age, and together they manned the defenses of Maedhros. Maglor's territory lay between the Great and Small Gaelic rivers, and to the north of it was a defile between the Shimrin and the Blue Mountains known as Maglor's Pass, which was exposed to the Omban threat because of its lack of defense. To the west of the pass is Maedhros' fortress at Shimrin, and to the east are the fortifications forged by Caranhir at Mount Relil. Maglor and Maedhros represented the sons of Feanor at the high-profile Myers Adeshad, meaning Feast of Reunion, in the 20th year of the First Age. In the 60th year of the First Age, Morgoth sent his armies to invade Beleriand from Maglor's Pass in the east and Syrian Pass in the west, in a battle known as the Battle of Glory. The battle ended in victory for Noldor, with Maedhros and Fingolfin meeting at the Omban Gate. And after that, the territory around Maglor's Pass was constantly patrolled and scouted by the cavalry in preparation for the next attack. In the year 455 of the First Age, Morgoth attacked once again in what is known as the Battle of the Plunge. The dragon Glaucon led a massive army that broke through the defenses and destroyed Maglor's territory. Maglor traveled to Shimrin to join Maedhros, and managed to hold the fortress. Caranthir was banished from Mt Ryler, and Celegorm and Curufin were forced to flee from Shimrad south of Shimrin. Humans known as the Eastcomers arrived in Beleriand in 463 First Age. One of the leaders of the Eastcomers, Bor, formed an alliance with Maedhros and Maglor, while the other leader, Ufang, pledged allegiance to Caranthir. At the Battle of the Rain of Tears in 472 First Age, the sons of Feanor led the eastern armies and planned to attack with the western armies led by Fingon, but were delayed by Udo, son of Ufang, who was in league with Morgoth. When they finally reached the front, Udo and the others suddenly mutinied and attacked Maedhros. Maglor killed Udo, and Bor's sons killed Udo's brothers, Uphast and Uvas. However, this mutiny still led to Noldo's crushing defeat in the war. Under the cover of their dwarven allies, the sons of Feanor withdrew from the battlefield, losing their territory and drifting under the Linden Mountains. Around 506 AD, the sons of Feanor learn that Dio of Doriath is in possession of an elven diamond, and send a messenger to Doriath to demand its return, but no reply is received. Celegorm rallies his brothers and convinces them to attack Doriath, creating a second kinsman killing, in which Celegorm, Curufin, and Caranthir all die. Death. Dio and his people were killed and wounded, and among the survivors was Dio's daughter, Elwyn, who fled with the precious diamonds to the mouth of the Syrian River. The remaining sons of Feanor were hesitant to attack the exiles at the mouth of the Cyrene, but were forced by oath to send a letter demanding the diamond. However, Elwyn refused to hand over the diamonds. As a result, in the year 538 of the First Age, the sons of Feanor launched the Third Kindred Murder. During this attack, Amrod and Amras were killed in battle. Elwyn, wearing the diamond on her chest, threw herself into the sea, and her young sons, Elrond and Elrose, were captured. Maglor, however, took pity on them and loved them, and a dear bond later grew between them. But Maglor's heart was tired and weary with the burden of her vows. Rescued by Womo, Elwyn brought the diamond to her husband Arendel, who sailed to the land of Montfort to seek Vera's help. He and his ship were then lifted into the sky with the diamond, and it first shone in the sky around 542 AD. Maglor and Maedhros realized that the nova was a diamond, and Maglor rejoiced in the fact that the diamond was common to all the world, and that it had been freed from all evil. However, 2 of the diamonds remained in the possession of Morgoth. In 587 First Age, Vila's armies defeated Morgoth in the Battle of Wrath, and the 2 diamonds were taken into the custody of Eonwe, the Herald of Manwë. Maedhros and Maglor, compelled by their oaths, sent a messenger to Eonwe to demand the return of the diamonds, and Eonwe replied that the sons of Feanor had lost possession of the diamonds because of the evils they had done, and that he would take the diamonds back to the Blessed Land, and that Maedhros and Maglor should return to receive the judgment of Vera, a directive which Maglor had longed to obey, but which he had been deeply saddened and weary of. Maglor had longed to follow this instruction, for he was deeply saddened and weary, and knew that whether he kept his oath or broke it, the end would be endless darkness. However, Maedhros insists on honoring his oath, and Maglor eventually obeys him. They infiltrated Eonwe's tent, killed the guards, and seized and divided the gem equally. For their sins, however, the gem cauterized their hands. In great pain, Maedhros leapt into a fissure of burning flames, and the diamond remained forever in the heart of the earth. The bitter Maglor threw the last of her diamonds into the sea, where she wandered for eternity, singing a song of pain and remorse, never to return to the elves.